Good evening, everybody. Good to see you here. Good to be here on this very important topic. Thank you to the Arizona Ground Game for providing the opportunity to have this discussion. I'm going to speak from the perspective that ALEC activities have been bad for Arizona. I tried today to think about one example to the contrary, and I couldn't. So that's going to be my perspective. And what I want to discuss, or the question I want to try to answer for you, or for us to answer, hopefully in the question and answer session, is what can be done to mitigate the impact of ALEC on Arizona. Doing away with it is an extreme option that I think if we spend time doing it, we're almost wasting our time. But what we need to do is figure out ways to mitigate its impact, to lessen that impact. And I want to talk about 4 or 5 things that I've thought about that are potential. But before I talk about those things, I need to say that they're all extremely difficult to do. And they're difficult to do because ALEC is so damn secretive. It's very difficult to get your arms around, especially in a timely way, to get your arms around what it is they're doing. It's one thing for the Arizona Republic to publish a list of all the bills that have been sponsored by ALEC members in the Arizona legislature, but it's a very different thing to figure out which of those bills will have an impact, figure it out in a way that you might be able to stop it. Not after the fact, but before. And that's extremely difficult. Now that I've got it right here in my notes, I want to say before I forget, there's a very good website from the Center on Media and Democracy called ALEC Exposed. ALECexposed.org. It's a very good website. The one deficiency is they can't keep the damn thing up to date. But it does give you some background and a number of news reports. So, what do I think the most lasting way to mitigate ALEC's impact on Arizona? Remember I said these aren't easy. If we could have one of either the Senate or the House or the governorship in the hands of Democrats or a different party. All you need is one of those chambers. During a good portion of my time in the legislature, Janet Napolitano was the governor. We had a fallback. We could stop bad stuff. She could stop bad stuff. But when you have all 3 of those entities in the hands of the same party, it's impossible to do. So the first thing is to try to recapture one of those out of the ALEC party's hands. If we could do that, that would be terrific. Number 2, target corporate members of ALEC who exist here in the community and try like hell to embarrass them. One of the ways to do that, I tried this without much success, because I've been a customer of State Farm Insurance for 40 years. And State Farm is a member of ALEC. And you know, my local agent doesn't have the foggiest idea what the hell ALEC is. But I educated her, and I went as far as threatening to take my business elsewhere, but it didn't seem to make any difference. But it's those kinds of small things that we can do. And we can ask those corporate members to quit ALEC. Just to let their membership lapse. We can also boycott them. I tried in 2015 to get a resolution passed at the State Democratic Party that basically said, we will not accept financial contributions, the state party will not accept financial contributions from any member of ALEC. I couldn't get it passed. Couldn't get it passed. But think about those kinds of things that you can do that will at least communicate to those ALEC members that what they're doing is not to our liking. Number 3, expose ALEC-sponsored bills. And this is what I was referring to earlier. After the fact, doesn't do a hell of a lot of good knowing which ones are ALEC-sponsored bills. But if we could know that beforehand, if we could know that at the time that that bill gets introduced into the House or the Senate, we might be in a position to at least talk about it. With the numbers we have, we're probably not going to defeat it, but at least we can talk about it. The ALEC bill that I was most involved in when I was in the legislature was a couple of tort reform bills. ALEC is big on tort reform. They don't want to have any tort action in courts. They don't want people to be able to sue corporations. So we were able to expose that bill as an ALEC bill, but that's not easy to do, because you have to have some source of information that tells you that that's an ALEC bill. So what are some possible sources of that information? Well, any member of ALEC in the Arizona legislature probably knows that, but they're probably not going to tell you. Certainly not going to tell somebody from the Office of Party. Although I did have a mole that was sharing some information with me. But probably the best way to do that is when you hear about a bill that's being introduced and you say to yourself, oh, that sounds like something that ALEC would be up to. Check it out. And as it turns out, there was an example in this morning's paper. Representative Steve Pierce is introducing a bill to mandate that anybody dealing fentanyl has an automatic 5-year minimum sentence. What happened at discretion in sentencing? But as soon as I read that, I thought, aha! The Corrections Corporation of America benefits by that bill. If you can make that connection, and even if you can't verify that CCA would benefit from that, at least you can talk to people about it and say, this is how ALEC works. You know, that bill probably was created at their last annual membership. And Steve Pierce brought it and said, okay, that's good because people want to fight the opioid crisis, so we'll throw anybody dealing fentanyl in jail for 5 years. And that's, consistency is not one of their strong suits here, because on the one hand, they're doing this kind of stuff. On the other, they're really talking about, I think, seriously, sentencing reform and criminal justice reform. But just because those things don't go together doesn't really matter. So, research those bills that look suspect, that look like they might be an ALEC bill. And there are news outlets, Blog for Arizona, Tucson Sentinel, the AM report from Phoenix. Those reporters, in my experience, would be interested in finding out from people that, hey, why don't you check this out? This looks like an ALEC CCA Steve Pierce connection here, and let people know about it. There's a group called State Innovation Exchange, SIX. I don't know where the State Innovation Exchange goes SIX to SIN. And they don't advertise themselves as a progressive ALEC, but what they do is they are available for assistance in drafting progressive bills and helping legislators do some different things. So that might possibly be an organization with whom people could collaborate. And Common Cause, everybody here has heard of Common Cause. Common Cause has been active in this business, as most of you know, for years. So that would be another major point of coordination. ALEC has, this is my fifth point, ALEC has something called the American City-County Exchange. And what I understand this to be is an ALEC aimed at local governments. County government, city government, school districts, etc. Now, in our case here, I don't think we have to worry too much about Tucson and Pima County getting sucked in by this stuff. But it's good to know that ALEC is expanding their horizons. And let me close with a couple of things. One, I don't know if the name Sean Noble means anything to you or not, but he's a big Koch brothers guy and has been in Arizona for years. He's been involved in a number of things, and he's been sued on a number of occasions too. So when you see something with his name attached to it, or something called American Encore, which is the organization that he's the head of now, look closely at that. I want to make two other points. I talked about corporate members of ALEC and what might be done with them. But let me just give you some examples of corporations that have local activities. Verizon, United Health, State Farm, I mentioned earlier, the NFIB, the National Federation of Independent Businesses. You go into small businesses all the time, and they got a plaque hanging there, NFIB. If you walk into one of those places, you say, "You still belong to that outfit?" Do you know what they do? And give them a couple of examples of what they do. That's the kind of small stuff we can do. DirecTV, Corrections Corporation of America, CenturyLink, your phone, your internet. Those are all organizations with local representation. I want to make another distinction too, because it's important to understand how ALEC works. These organizations that I just listed are members of ALEC. They pay $5, $10, $15, $20,000 a year membership. And that allows them to go to the meetings, talk about legislation, meet with legislators. That's how that thing all works, which you know. However, in addition to membership, there is another way that organizations get involved. And that is by sponsoring scholarships for legislators to attend the ALEC conference. And you don't show up on a membership list if all you do is provide $1,000 as a scholarship for somebody to go to an annual meeting. So there are a lot more organizations that sponsor scholarships that aren't necessarily members of ALEC. So that you need to be on the lookout for that as well. And that ALEC's Exposed website has a list of those, and actually what legislators that they actually sponsor by state. Unfortunately, as I said earlier, the most recent list they had on there was 2013. So it's a little out of date. But you get a sense about these folks. So I will look forward to the questions and answers. Questions, maybe answers. And we can talk some more about it. Thank you for your attention.